Hi, I'm Pamela Stewart and welcome back to my channel. I am a writer of young adult science fiction and fantasy, and today I'm going to do a book review. Really excited about this one. I've kind of mentioned this before on social media that I was in love with this book and how weird and inspirational it is, so I'm going to show you. It's the Illuminae Files by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. And I'm going to say I listened to most of this. I also referred to the book because it is told in a very interesting and unusual way. This adds so much to the telling. So if you've not read the book, don't watch this review because it's going to be spoilerific. Flash, flash, flash. Because there's a couple of big spoilers in here that I'm going to be mentioning. First, I want to talk about the good and what I liked about it. The main character, Katie, it starts out with Katie and Ezra on their home planet. It's like an ice mining world, and Katie has broken up with her boyfriend, and they're actually telling this in retrospect. They're kind of like getting debriefed by some military, so you don't really know what's going on. So if you start this book and you don't know what's going on, but it's so interesting that you want to find out the mystery, so they did a really good job on making every chapter, every scene, and in a way that you wanted to continue to read, kind of like voraciously. But I thought it was really intriguing that they started out with the two main characters kind of broken up, and how they had to describe the other one to these interviewers in terms, especially Katie, because she was not very charitable in her descriptions of Ezra. But yet they still helped each other get off the planet, which was incredibly action-packed and still emotional. Ezra lost his dad, it seemed, in the exodus off this planet. And they both ended up on these ships, on separate ships, of course. So during the entire book, they're not together too much. And that's one of my, I guess, critiques of the book. And I know they wanted to tell it in a different way, and they wanted to kind of make it epistolary, I think it's called. But it's like, so they trade letters or emails or voice notes or whatever between ships. But I could have done with more time with them together so that I could get a feel for their relationship and care more if they got back together. I did end up caring if they met each other again and got back together, but it wasn't as strong as if they had had any real moments in the book, face to face and together. The emails were really cute, I gotta say. They really caught the voice, especially of Katie's young teenager who is in love, yet has a chip on her shoulder. She's very smart. I would have to say she's very chaotic in a good way, but she's like super smart, and she's not about the establishment. And that's sort of one of the other crux in between Ezra and Katie, is that Ezra is very follow the rules, everything should be fine, trust the leaders of these spaceships that they're going to get them out of the situation. So the people that attacked their planet now wants to get rid of all the survivors because they don't want to start a war. So they go after these ships that Katie and Ezra are on. So it's a constant race. So I have to say this book is full of high stakes action. There's constantly like a background clock going on like every few pages. Like if you are looking at the actual book, there's pages here where they actually just have the clock on how many hours are left until the ship catches them. So it adds a whole element of fear and dread. Not only to mention is that they use some kind of biological weapon on the planet that caused people to not only like lose their minds a little bit, but also to become quite homicidal. And it took a while for this to actually take hold. So as the survivors are on the ship, they're starting to turn into these very rabid, kind of zombie-like creatures, and feeling like they're some kind of, suspicion in their mind that everyone's out to get them. And so it's very Walking Dead. So if you don't like any kind of horror or scare, it's pretty graphic, and it was kind of scary, especially the audiobook. I gotta say, I can't say enough about the audiobook. It was a full cast, and it was really well done. Some of my favorite parts are they even did a little music in between. Space battles were very exciting. Everyone really inhabited their parts and made me believe what was happening, especially, surprisingly, Aiden, which comes in a little later in the story, but he's the AI that's been damaged during the space battle, but it really feels like a real character. I think he's one of the main characters in my mind, and he's basically one of the villains. but he's also trying to help them. He has his own idea, only his own idea of what is correct, and he's going to do it whether he's approved of by the crew and the captain or not. In fact, whenever the captain countermands his commands, he ends up sending a bunch of the zombie people to kill the captain, which is terrifying. And one of his catchphrases is like, "Am I not merciful?" It's like full-on chills. So yeah, it's not your everyday YA book where everyone's, you know, just about the relationships. It definitely leans hard towards action adventure. I mean, I would have probably, if I were looking on the shelf, I mean, I would have shelved this under like horror sci-fi more so than YA sci-fi. That being said, it does have its young adult moments in that fact that Ezra is mooning pretty much over Katie, and Katie is also very willful and very much of a teenager. There's a couple of mysteries which I really like in the book, and it kept me reading, because some of the bigger picture stuff, you know, you kind of lose interest whenever they say, yeah, 1,000 people were murdered. And I'm not saying that's not interesting, but it's like, it doesn't feel as impactful as something happening to the character you know and like. Like they even showed up, it was affecting because they showed like all the people who had been killed in the first attack. Like they actually had little pictures of people in the book. So you had something to make you have feelings. But one of my critiques of the book is that sometimes they would throw characters in just to like tell us just a little bit about the backstory, and, you know, enough to make you think that you know this person or care about them, and then they would kill them before the end of the chapter, or they would, I mean, you kind of almost knew the ones that they were going to kill. There was a couple I wasn't expecting. Katie's mentor and hacker, I didn't expect his demise and what happened to him. It was kind of sad and scary because I had grown to like his character. And it was interesting. There was this one, some of the book is told like as they are watching old videos of what had happened before the ship was exploded. So we don't know throughout the book if Katie and Ezra survived. All we know is that these are the files that were remaining, like somehow that they had been like a black box had been recovered, and these are all the files. So somebody was reviewing these tapes and giving like a synopsis of what had happened. So, and I really kind of grew to like the character who broke it down and got emotional as he was watching them fight to keep the ships in the air and to stay, you know, ahead of the bad guys that were chasing them. So those are most of the things I really loved and liked about it. I like that the big picture of the story, you know, was basically, do we want to trust the people that are in charge of us, or the leaders or the government, or do we want to just follow the rules and hope that they have the best for us at heart? And I don't think it was clearly cut, you know, which one was right, but I definitely lean towards Katie's point of view, and that if the government is hiding things because they are doing things wrong, then we have the obligation to do something about it. So, and that was one of her biggest cruxes with Ezra later on in the book as well. So the things I didn't care for, the main characters had their moments, but I'd almost have to say maybe 20 to 30% was in the main characters' points of view, and the rest of it was told in bits and pieces, which is interesting, but it left me less attached to Katie and Ezra and their fates at the end. So I had less of an emotional connection because of that. Most YA books, or books in general, you have your main character and you follow through, and they have this really one big goal they're fighting for, and you know what the stakes are. And here it felt like more like the whole ship's goal was to survive and to save as many people as possible. And I don't know, that diluted the effect for me. I can't say I didn't love it though. I didn't love the love story. You know, it didn't make me swoon and make me want to like draw Katie and Ezra forever, because we didn't see them really get together. We didn't see them interacting, just like I said at the beginning. So I didn't really feel their love story. I did care that Katie wanted to save Ezra, especially at the end, which is the biggest twist of all, that I actually had to stop the audiobook and scream because it was such a big twist. I think it's probably one of my favorite parts of the book. So Katie all the way along has been on this other little science vessel. And Ezra has been on the big ship where they have the the guns and everything, and they're protecting the science vessel. Everyone who knows anything about computers has been killed. Basically, Aiden, the AI that's gone mad, has basically done away with anyone who could turn him off or hurt him in any way. So Katie and Ezra's, communications are like backdoor communications. And all of a sudden, like, she realizes, like, he may or may not be alive over there, and she's very, very sure that he's going to die unless he gets help. Unless somebody over there knows how to reprogram a computer, not only is Ezra going to die, but they're not going to have the guns ready for whenever the other ship catches up with them, because Aiden's in control of that. So, and there's a chance that Aiden might turn, which is the AI, might turn on the small science vessel as well, because he told them, don't leave, you're here, I'm here to protect you. But he had done so many morally questionable things that she didn't believe him, and no one else did either. So they were in a quandary. So she sneaks off the ship, and she sneaks onto the battleship. And she literally has to fight through hordes of zombies, taking like these little back ways, being guided somewhat by Ezra, like giving her tips and trips. So he's still alive, and she's finally got communications back with him, and he's telling her, like, go this way, grab a gun and protect yourself. And like, she's very anti-violence, so she's like, I'm not gonna kill anybody, it's not my thing, I couldn't live with myself if I were to kill somebody. See, that's another dichotomy in their relationship. But anyways, she gets to the end, and she gets up to where Ezra says he is, and the door opens, and he's not there. And it turns out that Aiden was copying him. So to draw her in so that he would have somebody who could help repair him, because nobody else was left. He had killed them all. So I'm just like dying on the floor screaming. I couldn't even like read fast enough after that. It was insane. It was an insane twist, but it was like, wow. Like, he'd even made these pictures of her using like graphics and things in his like design. So he'd got this weird AI crush on her because she had these talents and knew how to work the systems and everything. And it was a glitch for sure. Like, he's actually quoting poetry and Shakespeare, and he was a very interesting character. And I say he and I say character because he really kept the story going for me. Even though he went off on these tangents, it was very interesting to see his descent into this madness and his, I did say feelings for Katie. Like, he wanted not only for her to protect him and help him, but he wanted her to be with him in case he were to die, or to have somebody with him in case he ceased to exist. Like, even, can he die? Like, those were questions he was asking, which I love those questions. Because I write my Ionia. I cannot say the names of my own book. My Ionia Chronicles have a lot of AI in there. Mine are very based on human nature. And like, if we design a thinking system, they are going to mirror us in some way. So they're going to have some form of moral code or thought pattern, like humans. I really liked what Jay Kristoff and Amie Kaufman did with Aiden, and I'm actually super eager to read the next book. And I don't think it has Aiden in it, so I'm a little more worried. But I'm going to read what that looks about and then see if it's going to have any of the same elements that kind of tickle my reader fancy. So the big twist got me, and then at the end, I really thought for once they would actually kill the main characters. I really thought Ezra was dead, and I thought Katie, whenever the ship blew up, like, they defended the space vessel, but the ship ended up being destroyed. And I thought Katie for sure was just done. Because the way they wrote it, it was a good send-off. Like, she went to the very end, but Aiden had like got this one's like life pod for her, but they were in the middle of space and no one knew where she was. But as it turns out, the captain of the science vessel came back to save her, which was against orders. But that also leads into, like, is it better to question what you should do, what the rules say to do and what you should do? And I think they ended up on the side of you should always, question others' morality and look at your own. which is, I think, is the deepest message of this story, which any story that can make me think and make me really consider morality, it's the best. I do give it 4.5 stars out of 5, only because some of the storytelling felt removed because of the technique, and that we didn't have enough scenes with our MCs. But other than that, honestly, it's well written, it's interesting. I love the little slang they used. The world building was very well done. I did find that they had a few things that would be anachronisms in the world, because honestly, you would not be using some of the slang that we use today in this time period. I mean, I do the same thing because I write sci-fi, and in fact, I have another sci-fi book coming out, which I do borrow from pop culture and some of the phrases. But yeah, it did pull me a little bit out of the story. My new book, Conscript, has a few moments, but just so connect with the audiences of today. And to celebrate this review and the launch of my new book, I am offering, I'm doing a giveaway for Illuminae, the hardback. Look how pretty! It's got all these like really, really interesting, like even got blood splatters on some pages. It's like gross but beautiful, and little briefing notes and things like that. It's gorgeous! And you could win that. And I have a book a day keeps the reality away mug. And Alita. The drawing is open until September 15th. If you're in the continental US, I will be happy to put you in the drawing for that. You can also get a free copy of my prequel to my new novel. It's called Planet Strong. And it's very sci-fi fantasy. It leans way more sci-fi fantasy than this book. This book for sure was sci-fi horror. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And the entry to the giveaway should be right below somewhere. Or just go to my YouTube and look in the comment section, and it should be there.